Game of Thrones might seem like just a fantasy show at first, but it actually reflects how power works in the real world. When you look deeper into the show, it's really about politics, leadership, and control. Power resides where men believe it resides. This quote really sets up the main idea of the presentation. Power isn't always about strength or authority. It's about perception. If people believe someone has power, then they do, and that idea shows up constantly throughout Game of Thrones. One is Game of Thrones. For those who haven't seen it, Game of Thrones is a popular fantasy series, but it's also heavily focused on politics. It follows different families competing for power and control. The show highlights alliances, betrayal, and leadership struggles, which makes it feel very similar to real-world political systems. It's not just entertainment, it actually has deeper meaning when you analyze it. The main idea is that power in Game of Thrones is not based on morality. Instead, strategy and control are more important. Leaders act based on survival and maintaining power, not necessarily on what is right or ethical. This reflects the concept of political realism. Political realism is the idea that leaders prioritize power and survival above everything else. Decisions are made based on what works, not what is morally right. In this kind of system, maintaining control is the main goal, even if that means ignoring ethics. This connects directly to Machiavelli, who was a political thinker that wrote The Prince. He argued that power and stability should come first. One of his most famous ideas is that it's better to be feared than loved, because fear is more reliable. He also believed that leaders may need to act immorally in order to stay in power. These ideas are clearly reflected throughout Game of Thrones. Cersei Lannister is a strong example of political realism. She uses fear and intimidation to stay in control. She manipulates others and is willing to eliminate any threats without hesitation. Her focus is always on maintaining power, not being fair or liked, which fits perfectly with Machiavelli's ideas. Tyrion represents a different type of power. As he says, a mind needs books like a sword needs a whetstone. He uses intelligence instead of strength, and he's a strategic thinker who adapts to situations. His ability to think ahead and understand people allows him to gain influence, showing that power can come from knowledge and strategy. Ned Stark represents the opposite of realism. He is honorable and morally driven, and he believes in doing what is right. As he says, the man who passes the sentence should swing the sword. While this shows strong leadership and responsibility, it ultimately leads to his downfall, because he struggles to survive in a corrupt, power-driven system. This connects directly to real-world politics. Leaders form alliances to gain power, make strategic decisions, and constantly compete for control. Just like in Game of Thrones, success often depends on strategy and influence, rather than just doing what is morally right. This matters because it helps us understand how leadership actually works in the real world. It shows that power is often based on strategy and control, and it challenges the idea that politics is always